Welcome into Bobcat Insider. I'm Ashley Washburn alongside Keaton Glogly, your host this evening. First and foremost, we have to talk about that win in Cheney. It was a thrilling one for the Bobcats, 38-35, kicking off Big Sky play with a huge victory on the road.
And it was a game with an incredible amount of twists and turns, a poor defensive start, then it got going, and we saw an injury and Sean Chambers stepping in, and then one of the most frenetic finishes to a ball game I can remember, and it was Sean Chambers who had the exclamation point.
Here's the 2nd and 3 snap. Chambers takes it. He runs up the middle. He's inside the 5. He's on his feet, and he's into the end zone. Sean Chambers, touchdown MSU, and the Bobcats take the lead with 3:26 to go in the ball game.
We're back on Bobcat Insider. I'm Keaton Glogly alongside head coach Brent Vigen, and we're recapping a heck of a win for Montana State in Cheney as Montana State defeats Eastern Washington 38-35. And boy, what a performance from Sean Chambers with Tommy Mellott going down in this game. You know, when you think about his entire journey, transferring from Wyoming, going through so many career-ending injuries over there, and now stepping into this role and rushing for almost 200 yards, how satisfying is it to watch him perform like that?
Well, you know, the way it played out and him having to replace Tommy was not how he wanted to see it happen. But I think when we brought Sean in, we knew there'd be some moments for him to really step up, and to see him respond that way and play the way he did, and ultimately make plays enough for our team to win. It's real satisfying. Sean's been on quite a journey since I got to know him back in 2018, and proud of what he's been able to accomplish.
Well, what's he like as a person? What's he like as a teammate when he stepped in, and how did he endear himself to his teammates here in Bozeman?
Well, he's a humble young man. I think he's an easy guy to get along with. And that was evident from the first time I got to know him. I think he comes from a really good family, and he's hardworking. Sort of unassuming, I guess, but isn't afraid to lead at the same time, and that's a challenging thing for a transfer, a guy that's been a 3-time captain at another school to come in and fit in. But I think our guys really took to him because his humility, his hardworking nature, and now that they've got a chance to see him on the football field making plays, I think that's allowed him to take another step too.
Well, the plays that he was making, too, were so impressive. Watching him run up against this Eastern Washington defense was really a treat to see. I mean, how different of a player is he now compared to when you saw him while he was at Wyoming?
Well, he become a more mature person, I suppose. He's gotten bigger, obviously, since the time I first knew him. But his ability to run the football and just compete, I think, has always been there. His experiences, your experiences, I guess, form you, and I think he's had a multitude of experiences, both good and challenging at the same time. And I think he really appreciates this opportunity, and that's what played out. I think at the end, the emotions that maybe overtook him after the game was just, you hang in there, you take a leap of faith, and you choose another school, and then you're rewarded, I guess, by having a moment like you did on Saturday.
Well, it was over 300 yards on the ground for you guys, and the other guy who had over 150 was Elijah Elliott. And he's a guy who really, I think, could have been discouraged at the beginning of the year, buried on the depth chart, didn't get a lot of reps against Oregon State in Portland, and he comes out the second series of this game, and he snaps off a huge touchdown run. What did you see from him to stay ready for this opportunity?
Well, I still think Elijah had a good fall camp. We had a deep backfield even with Isaiah not being there. It's just the way the depth chart played out coming in. He didn't hang his head. He kept working. He was down on the scout team a little bit. All that adversity was stacking up. But just I think he knew that he best hang in there, keep his head up, and his opportunity would come, and it did on Saturday. And boy, did he make the most of it. Ran real hard, saw things well. And it was great to see him because he's such a good young man.
We've seen so many different running backs at this point, unfortunately, but the silver lining certainly is just how deep and skilled that group is for you guys. So specifically, what is Elijah Elliott's kind of style of his running game that impresses you?
Well, I think he's more of a slasher, and that's what you saw the other day. I think he fits the outside zone game a little bit more, and we're doing more of that this year as opposed to the sheer power game that maybe an Isaiah really stars at. But I thought the play calling relative to Elijah's skill set was really good, and he took advantage of those opportunities. And he's the type of guy you get him on a safety, he should make a miss, and he did that several times the other day, and we need that to continue this season.
Well, it's a 1-0 start in the Big Sky with UC Davis coming up next on Saturday. We'll break down that opponent, but first we'll go to Ashley Washburn after this break, and we'll learn a little bit more about one of the senior leaders and receivers, Willie Patterson, after this on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Hey yo, run it up, 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 on another run it up, 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 on another run it up.
Willie Patterson, or better known as the Willie P Show. How's this last episode playing out so far with the Bobcats?
It's been amazing. It's been a long time coming, but I feel like it's finally coming to a big, huge, just a huge moment for me. This senior year is going to be fun.
Now, I will say, you're probably not the typical receiver in regards to height, measuring in at 5'9", but the way you approach each play, I think you play like you believe you're 6'3".
Oh, yeah.
What's kind of the mindset when you take the field every snap?
Yeah, I just feel like I have to play like that. I'm already at a disadvantage with my height, but I can also use it as an advantage, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to go hard every play and just show my speed, elusiveness, quickness, explosiveness every time I get the chance to get the ball.
You started as a quarterback
Yes.
in high school,
Yes.
and then now you're a receiver for Montana State. How did that transition happen? Was that something you knew coming into Montana State?
Yeah.
Or how did you ultimately find yourself as a receiver?
Yeah, so I came in and they offered me an athlete scholarship. So they really didn't know what they wanted as me during signing day. But a couple weeks after signing day, they said, I got Coach Miller's number, I got into the receiver room, and I knew I was gonna be a receiver coming in.
Well, I think people get excited when they see number 11 take the field. They can see the passion that you have when you play this game. But, for people up in the stands, they might not know what the number 11 actually signifies to you. Can you tell me who number 11 is?
Number 11 is Ryan Harlan. So he was my big brother. Man, he was everything to me, and he wore number 11 for Olympia High School. He was a quarterback, and he was really one of the first people who taught me how to throw a football. So I changed my number to number 11 because he died in April 18th, 2015. And he died from alcoholism because his liver was 2 times the size it needed to be. And it was really tough for my family, and I felt like I needed to represent because he was really good. He was really recruited. He had a bunch of offers, but he decided to put football down and wanted to go to school and just work. So I felt like I needed to take that on and make sure his dream gets leaned on and also my dream. And it kind of helped because I was able to change my number my junior year to number 11 because I wore number 7 because of my dad. My dad was if you look him up, he has all the records. He's a running back. He was a freak. And I wanted to be just like him. But then Ryan came along and I wanted to be a quarterback. My dad was a running back, so I wanted to be a quarterback. And it just, everything that happened from when he died has been because of that number change. When I changed to number 11, it's like I have another player out there. He's watching over me and keeping me safe, and I know I'm making him proud. So some of those catches out there are 50% me, 50% him, you know? So it's amazing to have that opportunity to, once I came here, have that number and then show it off, so.
Well, when you put your jersey on, you know, every day for practice, or even when you actually suit up with your actual jersey on Saturday and you see that number 11 on your chest, what goes through your mind? I mean, do you take a second before each game and, you know, just really think about why you wear number 11?
Oh yeah. When I run out every time, I wear my bracelet every time. It's for Ryan. I write it on usually my wrist tape, or I write it someday on game day. I just may remember it's for Ryan, it's for Ryan. I usually pray in the end zone and I tap 2 times for 11 and I point up for my guy, because I know he's up there and he's ready to just watch me go crazy, you know, because he never really got to see me in high school because he was doing his little stuff, but it's just cool to know that he's able to see every game. But
you know, you're talking about how, you know, it's 50% you, 50% Ryan when you make some of those catches in the end zone, and I think about that crazy one that you had in that left corner right there. If he was up in these stands right now seeing you play your final year at Montana State and make a name for yourself, what do you think he would say to you right now?
He'd be so proud, like, to know that I switched from quarterback to receiver and I'm still doing my thing and doing whatever I can for the team and being a huge leader, which he was, because I have his teammates hit me up almost every game saying, "Go crazy, Willie, we're watching," whatever. So it's just amazing to see how much he affected people, and just me wearing number 11 helps me affect all these people in Bobcat Stadium.
I can see how emotional you're getting.
Yeah.
How much has football helped you and your family during such a, you know, a hard time, especially, you know, so many years later?
It was perfect. It was perfect because it was the perfect escape. And my dad played football, all my brothers played football, and it was just kind of, when I turned to 11 and when that stuff happened, it just gave people joy of knowing that 11's still out there. I'm doing it for Ryan. I got tattoos on my body for Ryan, and it's just something that our family used as to just come together even tighter, because we were a little bit spread out, and now we're even tighter than ever, because you just never know when your time's up. That's where you learn your real courage and where your why comes from, and that's kind of where my why came from, is why I do it for Ryan, man.
Well, now people will have another name that they can think of when they see number 11 on the field. But what about your legacy? Do you want Bobcat fans to remember, especially when you do your last drive on this field?
I just want them to know that I put it all out here for them. You know, I put blood, sweat, and tears out here, and I just want to thank them for supporting me throughout all these years, even though I wasn't the best when I first came in. You know, senior year, I felt the love of Bobcat Nation already. So I'm excited to get this season going, and you know, I just want to make sure this season, man, we're leaving with some hardware for sure.
And you haven't had the most straightforward path to get to this point. You came in not really knowing what your role was going to be. Once you realized you were going to be a receiver, you still had to wait for your opportunity, and it finally is coming here in your senior year. You know, what have you taken the most from just that aspect of, you know, it's been a little up and down trajectory, but you're here now?
It's just the work. You got to put your head down and work, because, you know, you're not going to get your way the first time, the second time, or even the third time. And you just got to keep working, head down, work, because when it's your time, you got to be ready.
You can accomplish so much in life, and I know you want to keep playing football for as long as you can, but when it's time to hang up the cleats, what are you going to turn that passion into next?
I think I want to be a motivational speaker. That's one of my goals. I feel like I can tell my story to business people, to families, to friends, to people that are just struggling with adversity and how to push through, and just resiliency, and just all types of things that can help people just push through whatever they're going through. You know, just positive thinking. That's one of the things I can just go out and preach to people in businesses, of just pushing through stuff, you know.
Glass half full mentality.
Yeah, come on.
I love it. Well, you know, you have so much passion and you have so much drive to just get through the hard things in life that I have no doubt that you are going to accomplish amazing things.
Yeah.
So good luck this fall and good luck going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley.
Run it up, 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 run it up on a night and run it up, 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 run it up on a night and run it up.
There's more coverage of the Bobcats online. Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome back to the Bobcat Insider. I'm Keaton Galogly alongside Ashley Washburn. And Ashley, that was an incredible piece with Willie Patterson. He's obviously a high emotional guy. He's a high energy guy, and you can see it on the sidelines. But what it's like interacting with him and discussing this stuff, because obviously a lot of that emotion and that energy comes from a really deep place.
Well, speaking of that passion, I mean, we see that up in the stands all the time as far as, he's making all these big plays. He calls himself the Willie P Show, and you're seeing him play out this final episode every single day in and day out. But his passion resides of why he wears number 11. He was so open with me and got so emotional about why he wears number 11 for his brother, saying he's finishing out his story. And that's why that passion comes in, is he knows that this is what his brother would want him to do in his final year, and make some noise and, rep his brother at the same time.
Well, so far he's repped him incredibly well, and when you think back to how much time he waited to be the guy, how much did this tragedy impact his ability to fight through that adversity and now be the A1 wide receiver for the Cats?
Well, if you know anything about his story, facing adversity like this in his playing game is he's dealt with it all of his high school career. He was a quarterback at 5'9". Obviously, you're not going to get a bunch of looks at, and so he always knew he needed to come in every single day, put in the work, and that's always something that his brother instilled in him when he was teaching Willie how to play football, is come in, pay the dividends every single day, and it's going to play out. And so that's why he's shining out in this final year, making a name for himself, but also living out his brother's name as well.
And we'll get a chance to see this Willie P Show again on Saturday, coming up at 8:15 p.m. We'll be back and get you set for this kickoff against UC Davis right after this.
Get social with Bobcat fans and follow MTN. Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back on the Bobcat Insider, I'm Keaton Galogly alongside head coach Brent Vigen, and we're getting ready for the second week of Big Sky play and the first home game in the Big Sky Conference schedule with UC Davis coming to town. And Coach, I think people might look at this UC Davis team and see a 1-3 record and think, oh, this is going to be a walkover game, but this is a pretty skilled UC Davis team, is it not?
They're a real good football team. They've had a real tough schedule at this point. They were a playoff team last year, one of the better teams in our conference, and returned a lot too. And I think they're a really balanced team. Offense, defense, I think both can play really good football. Offensively, they got a number of playmakers led by Gilliam, their running back, who's probably as good as there is in the league. So very dangerous team. Their backs are against the wall. We got to be ready to go.
Yeah, you mentioned Ulonzo Gilliam Jr. He's the all-time leading rusher at UC Davis. He's in his final year over there for the Aggies. What type of runner is he, and how does he collect his yards?
Well, a lot of different ways. By and large, they want to get him off tackle, want to get him outside, but then he can also catch the football. He's got a number of receptions. They line him up at a receiver, throw him from screens. Very very effective, and they do a very good job of getting him the ball in a lot of different ways.
Their quarterback, Miles Hastings, is leading the conference in passing yards. He's got the most completions, the most attempts. He had 57 attempts in their last game against Weber State. What kind of style of quarterback is he?
Mostly a pocket guy, but athletic enough to extend plays. They don't run him in design runs very much, but he got some experience last year and played effective football for them, and is built on that last year experience. And you can see him, continuing to grow. And they're obviously putting a lot on his plate when you think about throwing as much as they did last week, and able to distribute it all over the field. So we'll have to try to make him as uncomfortable as we can.
When we look at your defensive line, Sebastian Valdez tied for the league lead in sacks with 5.5 right now. Brody Grebe had that big sack at the end of the game against Eastern Washington. But UC Davis, their offensive line has only given up 3 sacks all year, fewest in the conference. How do you feel like your D-line matches up against their offensive line?
Well, we're going to have to match up and make some plays, but they're an athletic front. No big guys necessarily, no heavy guys, but tall, athletic, long, that really do a good job protecting the passer, and you throw the ball as many times as they have, and the pressure hasn't been very much, but they do get it out quickly at the same time. That's the design of their offense. So we have to find ways to put pressure on, whether that's with the front four or with some blitz packages, but certainly, again, we got to make him as uncomfortable as possible.
Now on the defensive side for UC Davis, they held that Weber State team last week to just 17 points. That's a good offensive team. They forced 3 turnovers, a couple of fumbles, and an interception. What do they do well on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, I think they're multiple in their fronts, which does create some problems up front. Definitely have some big players on the interior, 350-pound nose guard in particular, but they. You see a lot of activity. Their linebackers, their inside and outside linebackers, all 4 of them can fly around and really wreak havoc. And just the multiplicity and the different looks they give you on that front, I think, is really what gives people the most trouble.
And especially in that secondary, right now, 5 interceptions from this UC Davis team. That's second best in the Big Sky to this point. What are they doing to take the football away?
Well, a variety of coverages. They're not afraid to play man-to-man first off. Any team that can go play man, that allows that front to do more, and they're very effective in their man-to-man coverage. And then I think they do a fair job of just disguising and making it complicated for the quarterback, showing you one look and ultimately playing another. Good range, I think, at all the positions. They can cover a lot of ground. So athletic on both sides of the football, and we're going to have to come out and play really good to find a way to win.
All right, here we go. 8:15 is the kickoff. You going to sleep in on Saturday?
No. We'll be up ready to go.
All right, we'll take a break, and when we get back, Ashley Washburn will rejoin us as we get you set for this kickoff on Saturday between Montana State and UC Davis. This is the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back one final time with the Bobcat Insider, Keaton Galogly with Ashley Washburn as we get set for the first Big Sky home game of the season. Ashley, what are you looking for on this Saturday?
I'm excited to see how the defense responds to some of the chunk plays that they gave up against Eastern Washington. When you play a guy like Alonzo Gilliam Jr., he's going to run the ball and you can't let him get loose.
I can't wait to see what Sean Chambers does with a full week getting prepared as the starter for Montana State. You could really see him starting to get into a rhythm when they were in Cheney after he got regular reps. I think he's going to really step up and even elevate that performance we saw from this last week against the Eagles.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a fun one underneath the lights. 8:15 kickoff. You'll be able to watch that on national television. ESPNU for Keaton Galogly. I'm Ashley Washburn. We'll see you next week.